Hello everybody, Tyrone the God 3 here, Broly. Obviously his movie is out and has been out since January 16th. And everybody's been hyping it up since it's been released. And obviously, it's my job to review every Dragon Ball movie that came out, so it was clear I needed to go to the movies and check out what all the hoopla was about. So first off, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Glad to have you. And faithful subscribers, I apologize for the lack of uploads. The holidays took its toll on me and I've been guest starring in other things, but enough excuses. If you checked out my Twitter, then you would know that I'm doing this review a bit differently than most. I'll be separating the movie's review into not one, not two, but 3 parts. So if you don't want to hear something that catches your ear in this part, then you could easily go to a different part. The parts will include the history of the film for part 1, a brief summary of my thoughts in part 2, and a discussion with other YouTubers in part 3, giving you the most in-depth analysis of this movie that I can. So without wasting any more time, this is the history portion of the review. I'm making this part specifically because the name Broly isn't exactly a new one. And Broly is a character that has been split into 2 different continuities, if that makes any sense. A feat I don't think has ever happened in anime history, and there's a reason for that. So grab a snack, get comfy, and listen to the tale of Broly, and the sap that has to do the review for his 4th movie. The year is 1993, in Japan at least. Dragon Ball is a sequel series. Dragon Ball Z has come far in the ratings. Dragon Ball was the definitive anime experience. In the confines of the manga, the Z Warriors were combating Cell, the biological android from the future. But in the gap of time before the Cell game saga, a movie was made that would take the Dragon Ball world into new heights. Introducing Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball Zeto Burn Up, a close fight, a violent fight, a super fierce fight. That's a lot of fights. But in English, it was just called Dragon Ball Z, the Legendary Super Saiyan Bro, which later was translated and sent to America on VHS tapes in 2003. That's like 10 years afterwards. Damn. The localization team has come a long way. We do simul-dubs now. Well, anyway, the reason this movie in particular took the Dragon Ball world by storm was because back in April of 1991, 2 years prior to the movie's release in Japan, Goku faced off against the galactic tyrant known as Frieza, and when his efforts had almost failed, Goku transformed into the legendary form known as Super Saiyan. Such a small change in hair and aura made Goku, and Dragon Ball for that matter, a phenomenon. So it's expected that characters related to Goku that carry Saiyan blood like Vegeta and Gohan were expected to achieve the same form. Then we got a surprise appearance from Trunks in July 15th, 1991 in the manga, who turned Super Saiyan as well, and it opens up a whole new level of shock and awe factor to the form. The power increase, the new look, the fear Frieza has in his eyes when he encounters him. Super Saiyan had it all, and the best part was that it was used to combat evil. That was until a new concept and idea was brought to the table. Going back to 1993, storyboard writer Takao Koyama, sorry if I botched that, jots down the plot for a movie involving a new Super Saiyan. The catch? He's not on the Z Warrior side this time. He's evil, and worse than that, he's downright insane. Enter Broly in the 8th Dragon Ball Z movie. His appearance alone was enough to bring fans in, and not to mention the vast amount of power he wields. Broly was a juggernaut in the Dragon Ball world for having a power to toss aside Goku, Gohan, Trunks, Vegeta, and Piccolo aside as if they were nothing more than rag dolls. And this was after they all achieved their power-up forms. Full power Super Saiyan for Goku and Gohan, the Ascended Saiyan for Vegeta and Trunks, and Piccolo fused with Kami respectively. A character that can take down Earth's special forces with no challenge whatsoever is what this whole gimmick revolved around with Broly. Obviously, since it was a movie though, Broly had to be defeated, and thus he was. But that didn't stop Broly's screen time one bit, I'll tell you that. Now, we rewind again. This time we rewind to July 20th, 1991, 5 days after Trunks' appearance in the manga. We get a movie known as Revenge of Cooler that introduces the character Cooler, who was Frieza's brother, seeking revenge on Goku for defeating Frieza. The character Cooler was well received, and thus he got a second movie known as Cooler's Return on March 7th, 1992. Because of his popularity, of course. Well, Broly was clearly going to get the same treatment, so Broly's defeat in movie 8 was nothing more than a 7-year temporary victory, at least in universe, for our warriors. As in movie 10, however, which was released on March 12th, 1994, Broly is to make his glorious return in the movie titled The Dangerous Duo, Super Warriors Never Rest, and in English it was just called Broly's Second Coming. Yeah, you know, like Jesus. But Broly would long surpass Cooler's level of popularity by getting treated with a third movie. Yeah, get wrecked, Jesus. You got reborn only once. Broly's doing the whole thing twice. And July 9th, 1994, which was called Dragon Ball Z Super Warrior Defeat. I'll be the winner. Wow, these titles really have nothing to do with Broly, huh? Or the movie for that matter. Anyway, well, in America, it was called Dragon Ball Z Bio Broly, where in the last movies, the Second Coming movie, where the plot revolved around the fact that the Z Warriors do actually kill Broly. However, a village witch doctor takes Broly's blood and sends it to a lab to get biogenetically cloned. Alright. So, at this point, it was clear that after this movie, though, Broly had his fill of movie appearances. For now, at least. But that didn't stop him from showing his face in the world of video games. I'll tell you that one. Almost every Dragon Ball Z video game you can think of, Broly has made an appearance in, whether it be as a playable character or a boss of some form. Hell, in Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 for the PlayStation 2, he's the only non-Z Warrior character to have a playable story mode. He also gets this treatment again in Dragon Ball Sagas for the Xbox and PlayStation 2, and again in Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit for the Xbox 360 and PS3. There's even an out-of-place appearance in games, like when he's the hidden boss in the Nintendo DS game Dragon Ball Z Attack of the Saiyans, which takes place 2 sagas before Broly even makes his debut. Broly was also the only character to get transformations that he didn't get in his movie appearances. In Raging Blast, he gets a Super Saiyan 3 form for the Xbox 360 and PS3, and in Japan exclusive card/arcade game Dragon Ball Heroes, he obtains the Super Saiyan 4 transformation and a Grade 8 form. With all of these movie and video game appearances, it's clear that Broly will always be a fan favorite. So where do I come in all of this? Well, to answer that, we got to go all the way back in time once again, this time to November 16th, 1992. A man was born by the name of Tyrone Harris, that's me if you were wondering, and from there time passes. By the time I became 7 years old in the year 2000, it was clear that I was a hardcore Pokemon fan. It wasn't until my stepdad, however, introduced me to Dragon Ball Z that my eyes opened up to other forms of anime and video games. I was caught up in the hype of the show and the movies that came alongside with it, and when I showed my biological dad, he states that he had been watching the show since he was younger too, letting me know that this franchise was a lot more involving than I originally thought. Dragon Ball Z was all over the place by this point and had taken the world by storm. And all of the movies that came out, which includes the movie that came to us VHS via in 2003, which was Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan. At that point, I grew up quite a bit loving the Dragon Ball series, and by 2009, once I was 16 years old, and I had started my own YouTube channel. At first, the YouTube channel was nothing more than just an ability for me to save various videos that I like and my favorites so that I can watch them later. But later on, I decided to start making content of my own. I started small with very terrible vlog style video game reviews that provided just a JPEG picture of the game, followed by long ramblings of my thoughts. Yeah, they're very terrible. Please don't listen to them. I mean, you can't find them really anyway because I deleted most of them. Anyway, oddly, one of the first video games that I actually reviewed on my channel was Dragon Ball Raging Blast, the game which featured Broly in his Super Saiyan 3 form as its gimmick. But years later, I decided to do Let's Plays, which, again, were very terrible, starting off with Pokemon Emerald and Dragon Ball, The Legacy of Goku, and moving forward. I gave up on that due to the poor quality of them, however. Then, off the inspiration of a YouTuber known as the Insane Game Freak, I decided to go ahead and do the review of the anime Pokemon X and Y, which became the highlight of my channel. From there, I decided to review other anime, and on January 6, 2014, I began to review the Dragon Ball Z movies, starting with the Dead Zone and moving forward from there. I reviewed all of them, and even this atrocity. Yeah. And in all of those movies, I eventually reviewed movie 8, Legendary Super Saiyan Broly, which I did not one, but 2 videos on. Looking back on it, Broly's popularity kind of put me in a position where I could only do this by doing 2-part reviews. One was sort of stating my whole summary of the movie and my thoughts, while the second one was me basically defending the fact that I didn't really like Broly that much as a character. Now I'm doing a 3-parter, so I guess Broly wins no matter what I do. Anyway, with that all being said, that's a lot of videos I just talked about, and those still exist on my channel. I'll put the link of all of those Broly movie reviews in the description. However, I must warn you, they're not of great quality. So in the video though, I made it very clear that Broly as a character only attracts merchandise and wasn't that much of a character on his own. With each appearance he made on screen, I became less and less patient with the Super Saiyan Behemoth, making it very clear that I preferred intellectual villains or story-driven villains rather than raging, hulking powerhouses. I was also not a huge fan of Dragon Ball series pandering to what's popular, like Bardock and Broly constantly reusing these characters and overstaying their welcome, versus new original content that can be progressive and move the series forward. So lo and behold, July 19th, 2018 shows up. A trailer showing a new Dragon Ball movie comes, and what is it? Surprise, surprise, it's Broly again. Only this time, Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball himself, decides to go ahead and take his own perspective of the series and how Broly should be interpreted. Now, when I got this trailer and saw the visuals, I voiced my opinion in 2 videos that I will also leave in the description that expressed my initial thoughts on the movie and in my disdainment towards this level of pandering. Well, now the movie is finally out. I went on to see it on Saturday, so I've seen it. And did my opinions change? Well, it's complicated, but to know that, you gotta stay tuned for part 2 of this review. I do a brief summary, with spoilers obviously, of the movie and display my thoughts as I go out. So what will my thoughts be? Find out then. Until then everybody, Tyrone the God 3